Hello friends, welcome to the chapter, The Adventure, written by Jayant Narlikar. This is not a tale of time travel into the past, but a journey to a parallel world. It's the story of a historian and professor who doesn't just read about history, but who accidentally steps into a world where the India he knows has been rewritten. Let's meet the two main characters of the story. Professor Gangadhar Pant Gaitonde. He's a learned professor. He has presided over 999 presidential addresses, means formal speech, at various seminars and conferences. Rajendra Deshpande. He is an intelligent physicist and our professor's friend. Grab your chai and settle in. Today, we're not just reading a story, we're taking a wild ride with Professor Gaitonde on the Jijamata Express train, running along Pune-Bombay route. While traveling, he notices there were no industrial towns outside Pune city. As he was into his thoughts, when the train stopped beyond a long tunnel in a place called Sarhad, he saw an Anglo-Indian in a uniform who was going through the train to check the permit. At the same time, a person named Khan Sahib asked Gaitonde, "Are you going to Bombay for the first time?" "Yes." "Could you please tell me how would you reach Peshawar?" "The train would first go to Victoria Terminus, then change the train to Frontier Mail. The train will then go to Delhi, and then to Lahore, and finally Peshawar. It would be a long 2-day journey." And our historian's brain goes, "Wait, since when is Lahore in India?" The train next passed through the residential rail traffic, and he saw a blue carriage with GBMR on the side. Khan Sahib explained the full form of GBMR. It stands for Greater Bombay Metropolitan Railway. See the mark of Union Jack painted on the carriages, which means we are in British territory. As the professor got down at the Victoria station, he saw a big sign which read, East India House Headquarters of the East India Company. He didn't expect this in Bombay. The East India Company had shut down in 1857. How come it is standing and thriving? The streets are lined with British shops, Boots, Barclays, Lloyd's. He was confused. It's like a main street in England, set right into Bombay. He entered the Forbes building in the home street. He asked the receptionist about Mr. Vinay Gaitonde. She searched all the telephone list and the staff list, but couldn't find him. He was shocked and wonders if he was not alive himself in this world. How can his son, Vinay, existed here? He reaches the town hall library to read the history books to confirm the reality. He took 5 books. Volume 1 was about the period of Ashoka, Volume 2 about Samudragupta, Volume 3 about Muhammad Ghori, and Volume 4 was up to the death of Aurangzeb. And then, Volume 5, he discovers that in this world, the Marathas had won the Battle of Panipat. Abdali was chased back to Kabul by Sadashivrao Bau and his nephew Vishwas Rao with Maratha army. Although the professor recognized the writing style to be his own, he could not remember having written it. The East India Company was sidelined. India is a confident, democratic nation, never a slave to the white man. Vishwa Rao and his brother, Madhav Rao, with their political smartness and courage in the battlefield, expanded their influence all over India. On the other hand, East India Company offered help by sending their experts to teach technology in India. By the 20th century, India became a democratic country inspired by the West. India knew how to stand on its feet, and it was no longer the slave under white man. As he was reading the books, he found the clues in one of them, named as Bausahebanchi Bahar, stating that Vishwas Rao was shot. The bullet came extraordinarily close, but missed. Vishwas Rao survived. The Marathas won the battle, and this victory changed the entire course of Indian history, preventing the rise of the British East India Company. In the original, real history that Professor Gaitonde knows, Vishwas Rao was killed by a bullet during the Battle of Panipat, which led to the collapse of Maratha morale and their eventual defeat. So, friends, Vishwas Rao is not just a name, he's the point where the two realities diverge. When the librarian announced the 8 p.m. closing time, the professor found himself alone. He asked to keep the books overnight and was told the library reopened at 8 the next morning. He then left, keeping his notes in his right pocket and the Baha book in his left pocket. He found a guest house to stay in and eat cheap meal for dinner. He decided to walk towards Azad Maidan and found a large pack of a crowd moving towards the pandal. The presidential chair was also unoccupied. His academic ego itches. He thinks, my time to shine. He sits in the iconic empty chair. The speaker stopped, and he was shocked to see the professor sitting on that empty chair. The speaker yelled at him to vacate the chair. The professor didn't listen to his instructions and went to the mic to express his thoughts. He started by saying that vacant chair lecture is like Shakespeare's Hamlet, and without Prince of Denmark. The audience was in no mood to listen to anything. Clearly, old customs had changed now. They no longer believed the chaired person and his false promises. They asked him to move aside, as they only wanted to hear the speaker. But the professor continued talking, as he believed he would control the unfriendly audience. They soon started throwing tomatoes, eggs, and other objects towards him. He kept on trying bravely, but the audience started moving towards him to remove him physically from the platform. Suddenly, in the crowd, the professor was nowhere to be seen. He vanished! The professor found himself talking to Rajendra. He narrated everything to him which he saw and lived for those few days. Rajendra told him that he was found in the Azad Maidan next morning, and now he is back to the real world, which he is familiar with. He wanted to know where he had spent the 2 days when he was unconscious. Rajendra was amazed by the narrative, and he replied after a while,
"What were you thinking just before your collision with the truck?"
"I was thinking about catastrophe theory. Don't smile. It is nothing like that. My mind was playing tricks with me."
To win the argument, the professor took out the torn page from Bahar book, and Rajendra was surprised.
"I had unintentionally slipped the Bakar into my left pocket and intended to return it the next morning when the library opens. But the book got torn off and lost in the large crowd in the Azad Maidan. This page is evidence from the book that I had stolen it."
Rajendra again read the page. It described how Vishwarao missed the bullet. He then showed him his own original world copy of Bahar, which said that Vishwarao was hit by the bullet. Both texts were entirely different. Rajendra told the professor that by seeing the evidence, he had begun to realize it's not a fantasy. He wanted the professor to know some facts.
"I will try to explain it through two scientific theories. First, the catastrophe theory. At a critical moment, an outcome can go in multiple directions. Catastrophe experience is a sudden dramatic shift that occurs when a system is placed under pressure."
Friends, let me put it in simple words. You can press a tree branch to bend until it reaches a critical point, the catastrophe point, where it suddenly snaps into a completely new position. The Battle of Panipat was that moment. In one reality, Vishwarao was shot. In another, the bullet missed. The second catastrophe occurred at the Azad Maidan. When the hostile crowd attacked him, the shock and physical pressure of that event acted as another trigger, bringing his consciousness back to his original reality. Actually, at the time of collision, Professor Gaitonde was thinking about the topic of his 1000th presidential. That is, what would happen if the result of the battle had gone the other way? And the neurons in his brain acted as a trigger and made the transition. But the real kicker? Quantum reality. Rajendra explains that at the tiniest level, reality isn't fixed and predictable. It's fuzzy and full of possibilities. An electron exists in many potential places at once until we look at it. So, if the building blocks of the universe, like electrons, behave this way, why couldn't the bigger world built from them also have multiple possibilities? This is the quantum leap in thinking that explains Gaitonde's journey. So, friends, are we just one version of ourselves, living one possible life in a vast, infinite multiverse? Or is there another you in a world where you became a rock star instead of a student? A world where you didn't forget to do your homework? Rajendra explained that Professor had experienced two worlds, one at a time, one in which he lives, and another one where he spent his last 2 days.
"Professor, you didn't travel past or future. You were in the present and experiencing different worlds. There may be more worlds which may arise out of division at different points of time. Your journey was a quantum transition." "Just because, at the time of the collision, you were thinking about catastrophe theory and its role in the war, and so the neurons in your brain acted as a trigger and made the transition."
So friends, the next time you lose your keys, don't fret. They're probably in a parallel universe, being used by the other you to start a parallel car. Now, that's a thought to take into the weekend. If you like the video, do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more interesting and useful videos.